My goodness, you can see that backup is extensive.
Indiana State Police say they see crashes almost daily related to distracted driving.
65 incidents between cars and pedestrians or bicyclists.
They've opened up the shoulder here, but this is very slow and go.
INDOT is telling us it's keeping the busy schedule in mind and making adjustments when possible.
Once upon a time, there wasn't traffic in Indiana. Back in the beginning, when the entire state looked like this, the first settlers navigated via river or existing Indian trails. If you watched the first two parts of the series, you saw how roads played second fiddle to river and rail transportation for years. Game trails such as the Buffalo Trace connected the falls of the Ohio with the fall line at Vincennes. So it makes sense that these areas would be the first pockets of settlement. Only after the Northwest Indian Wars in the 1790s did trade routes flourish, connecting native villages, American forts, and settler trading posts, such as those of the Connor brothers. By statehood, there still weren't adequate roads connecting much of the isolated settlements within the empty Hoosier state. Roads needed somewhere to go, and road building would only kick off with a huge federal effort. Congress in 1810 finally decided to connect the country's isolated western bits to the capital and chartered the National Road. And by 1820, they had commissioned for the road to go all the way to the west to the distant frontier town of St. Louis. Planned to be covered in crushed limestone and planks, the National Road would be the main street of America. But money dried up quickly, somewhere around here, so by the time it reached Indiana, the National Road was a famous, muddy mess of wheel ruts and partially submerged stumps, affecting everyone from farmers to presidents of the United States. Anything is better than nothing, and the National Road served as the spine for Indiana's new system of toll and post roads, commissioned in the first decades after statehood to facilitate U.S. mail, the genesis of our modern state road network. In the 1820s, the state assembly saw the need for a new north-south thoroughfare designed to connect Madison, Indianapolis, Logansport, and South Bend with the harbor at Michigan City. The creatively named Michigan Road was Indiana's first state highway. Important enough that its construction spelled the end of the remaining Amerindian presence in northern Indiana, as a series of land trees opened up much of the northern reaches to white settlement, leading to the expulsion of the remaining Lenape, Miami, and Potawatomi in the state over the following years. Indianapolis, at the crossroads of the Michigan and National Roads, became the most important intersection in the new state, even if the roads intersecting were barely more than wagon ruts in the mud. And that's what Hoosiers dealt with for decades, paying tolls to travel on muddy frontier roads. Trains came along and made both inter- and intra-state travel more convenient, but still the messy hodgepodge of unpaved roads remained the status quo. In the end, cars and mud don't mix too well though, so the state and feds finally started spending some real dough in the early 20th century to build paved roads, and soon a series of U.S. highways crisscrossed Indiana. Indiana's flat terrain was great for the development and testing of new automobiles, but when the cars started going faster than 10 miles an hour, mud and gravel roads simply weren't going to cut it anymore. It was so dire on Indiana's existing roads that when the Indiana State Highway Commission was founded in 1919, the Hoosier State only had about 138 miles of paved roads, not even 4% of what is located in just Marion County today. This issue is actually what gave Carl Fisher the idea for the construction of a new 2.5-mile circuit at Indianapolis, a controlled and maintainable environment for automakers to safely test and find the limits of their new technology. Though there are still plenty of Hoosiers out there that believe proper race cars still race in the mud. Starting in the 1920s, the Highway Commission set out on the Herculean project of connecting every county seat and every town of more than 5,000 people to the paved road network. New paved state roads were built, and existing old post roads were paved for the first time in the decades that followed, so that by the start of the Second World War, the amount of paved roads in the states had nearly exceeded 12,000 miles, a trend that would continue until the 1950s. Because in 1956, Congress passed the Federal Aid Highway Act, America's largest public works project in history up to that point, and millions of dollars were given to the states to construct our modern interstate system. This act and the construction of interstates would forever change Indiana. Indianapolis was now the junction of 4 separate interstate highways and was a critical nexus and logistical center, just as it was for rails in the century prior. These interstate highways and the construction of the I-465 ring road to connect them all would forever change the state, and especially our capital, for better or worse. Neighborhoods were uprooted or divided as our American habit of building highways as close to the city center took shape, and ease of access into and out of Indianapolis catalyzed suburban white flight during the post-war baby boom. Thousands of people fleeing anywhere is going to have a great effect on a city, and it nearly killed Indianapolis. Go ahead and watch my Unigov video for any details on how that sausage was made, if you haven't already. And other than the addition of new interstates here and there, that pretty much leads us up to where we are now. The Indiana State Highway Commission would change its name to the Indiana Department of Transportation in 1989 to bring all modes of transportation under its control. But make no mistake, highways are still king of the hill in Indiana. The Hoosier State's commitment to the large I-69 NAFTA superhighway project affirms this dedication, as we are one of the only states involved that has started construction, let alone completing it, which we just wrapped up in 2024. So from river portages and rail junctions to superhighway corridors, Indiana's location in the Union, as well as our constant focus for maintaining and operating interstate travel, has made us the crossroads of America for over 200 years. But as our infrastructure ages and needs replaced, the choice will be on us in future decades to lay the foundation for Hoosiers yet to come. Whether that's roads, rails, trails, rivers, ports, or airports, Indiana and us Hoosiers will need to grow and adapt to any change that can come in the future, just as we have many times before.